What is up, and I welcome each and every one of you back to a brand new Civ 6 deity video. Not really, but today we are going to be talking about the other 25 civs, one top fact, one unknown top tip fact, whatever you want to call it, about the lives of the leaders who do rule this game. We do have part 1 out already. I will leave the link in the description. This is part 2. Last time we left off with Christina, and let's move on to Kublai Khan. He was actually the first non-ethnic Chinese ruler to rule China. So he was the first non-Chinese ethnicity ruler to rule China. I think I said that right. But yeah, considering that he actually came around in like the medieval era, it's insane thinking how China was like 4,000 years of just being ruled by a Chinese leader. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, that is his fun fact. Let's move on to Coupe. I love this one. I absolutely love this one. Coupe allegedly, right, I have to make sure I'm saying this right. He allegedly left his cousin to drown during a fishing trip, stole his cousin's wife, and then went off on like an adventure. That is absolutely insane. Coupe might be my favorite leader after that. Literally left his cousin to drown and stole his girl. That is absolutely insane. Let's move on to Lady Six Guys. Six Guy. Supervised high-quality pottery and learned the method of counting moon phases for the Mayans. Now, admittedly, I didn't really find anything about Lady Six Guy. There wasn't really too much information. This is really the only interesting information I could find, so if anybody has any more information about the Mayan ruler, let me know down below in the comment section below, and I'll pin your comment. How about that? Next up, we got Latoro. I love this one, too. He let himself get captured by the Spanish, learned how the conquistadors worked, it was pretty much let himself get captured, learned information about how their army works, their structure, how their bases work and stuff like that, freed himself, and then began absolutely wreaking havoc on the Spanish, leading to them calling him Swift Hawk as his unique ability in the game. That is pretty much insane. After that, we have Mansa Musa. You guys might know this one. You probably do know this one, but it is absolutely insane, so I'm going to say it anyway. This man went on a pilgrimage to Mecca during the time, and he was so rich, he was literally the richest man to ever exist. Ever. I'm talking like bigger than Jeff Bezos, like the richest man to ever exist. He went through Egypt and gave out so much gold that he literally crashed the Egyptian economy. Could you imagine if one person went to a spot as like a tourist or something, spent so much money that he literally crashed the economy? That is what this guy did. This guy was just counting bands all around. This guy was insanely rich. After that, we got Matthias Corvinus. This is a pretty good one. He was actually the first Renaissance ruler to adopt the Renaissance from Italy. So he was the first outside country to adopt the Renaissance from Italy, which is pretty cool. Next up, we obviously have Menelik II. This man destroyed the Italians so bad that the other European countries like France, Italy, England, all these other colonizers of Africa literally said, we don't want any of this smoke. We are going to leave you alone. He destroyed the Italians so bad that he made it so that other Europeans were afraid of trying to colonize him, thus granting Ethiopian independence until at least World War II. After that, we have the Montezuma. Again, Montezuma is one of those that I really don't have a lot of tips for. Let me know down below in the comments if you do have one, and you'll also get pinned, or at least hearted if I already pinned the other one. But he was actually the first ruler to start the whole wars for captives and sacrificial stuff like that. He was the first guy to start wars solely for sacrificial captives, and began that tradition that pretty much led to the downfall of the Aztecs. But hey, human sacrifices, so kind of had to do that, I guess. Next up, we got Vemba and Zinga. He was actually, we all know how he was like the first African ruler to like turn into Christianity, but he actually won the Battle of Banzo Congo after his half-brother built an army and just invaded him to like preserve tradition. He actually won that battle because his half-brother fell into a trap halfway to the city of Banzo Congo. I guess luck's on your side, I suppose. But yeah, after that we got Pakatui. He actually transformed the city-state of Cusco into an empire, which is pretty damn insane considering how hard it is to transform a city to an empire, especially during one lifetime. So definitely kudos to that. Next up, we got, we got Pedro. I actually had somebody in the comments of last video tell me about this tip, and I have confirmed it to be true. He became the ruler at age 5 after his dad abdicated. Obviously a regency until about age 15 when he was crowned emperor, and he was actually this incredible, amazing ruler, like probably the best ruler during the Americas, North and South during that time. Probably better than Lincoln, if we're being quite honest. This guy was an insane ruler. Because of him, he was able to transition into cabinet after cabinet so effortlessly without any sort of like wars or coups or anything like that. So it was a massive era of peace and prosperity in Brazil until there was a military coup to depose him, and that probably screwed over Brazil in the long run. But here's another interesting fact about him. He was actually able to stop slavery gradually without any need for war. So pretty much slavery in Brazil was pretty much like America, where like there was just these rich landowners who wanted to keep slavery. He was able to slowly, gradually remove slavery from the system without having to go to war or without having any sort of conflict or anything. And I think that's pretty cool, considering that the USA had to go through a 4-year worst war of all time in order to stop slavery, which is pretty insane. Next up, we got Pericles. Pericles, this is a pretty good one. The Golden Age of Athens is literally called the Age of Pericles, solely because this guy led Athens during its Golden Age for 29 consecutive years, the longest out of any Athens elected citizen, and pretty much made Athens the most prosperous city-state of the Greek peninsula during that time. Golden Age of Athens was literally called the Age of Pericles, which is, if you got a Golden Age named after you, that is pretty damn insane. Next up, we got Peter the Great of Russia. Yes, this dude was 6'8". He was playing for the wrong Russians, let me just say that. 6'8". But the other good tip about him is, again, somebody left me in the comments of the last video, he actually loved dentistry and even loved pulling teeth off of victims and loved, like, marvels of like humans that, people like the Elephant Man who, weren't exactly normal humans. He loved those kinds of like specimens. He called them specimens, not me. Please, Twitter, have mercy on me. But yeah, he loved dentistry, loved pulling teeth off, and loved humans who weren't the normal version of what you would expect as a human. I don't know why that thing is just escaping my mind. I don't know what I'm supposed to call them, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to move on. Next up, we got Philip II of Spain. He was actually the first king of Iberia of both Portugal and Spain, and was actually a Habsburg, which is why his chin is just so out there. He wasn't a crazy Habsburg though, so I guess there is that, but yeah, he was a pretty cool ruler, and Treasure Fleet, Spanish Armada, Conquistadors was all under his rule. Next up, we have what's his name? Palmaker. Palmaker is known as the only ruler to beat me in a game at literally the last turn, twice, not once, but nah, it's just jokes. In all honesty, his interesting fact is he ended a war between the Blackfoot and the Cree, a war that was going on for literal centuries at that point, which is pretty damn insane that he was able to do something like that, so props to him. After that, we got Qin Shi Huang. He was actually able to unify China, became ruler of China at the age of 13, one of the only child emperors to not get influenced by the corrupt bureaucracy of China, and was in all likelihood illegitimate, which is, again, pretty insane considering that China had this whole divine mandate type thing where, like, you're born into ruling the country, and, like, if you're illegitimate, you're not going to be able to do it, so that's pretty insane for this guy. But yeah, he unified all of China. At age 13, he became ruler and was illegitimate in China, which is pretty insane. Next up, let's move on to Robert the Bruce. He was known as the Scotland savior against the English, right? But he actually spent years serving the English, which is kind of a task failed successfully at that point. Pretty insane. Next up, we got Saladin. The Crusades were literally financed in Europe by something called the Saladin's Tithe. Like, they literally portrayed this guy as this, like, we gotta stop this guy. Put money in. Like, he was living rent-free in Europe's head. This man had an absolute mansion, a couple condos, maybe an amusement park, just rent-free in Europe's head, which I fucking love that. Next up, we actually have Seondiak. Her rule, I couldn't find too much about her, but one was pretty interesting. She was actually the second female ruler in Asian history ever. She was at least Southeast Asian in history, like China, Korea, Mongolia, the second female ruler, which is pretty insane. Next up, we actually have Shaka. This guy was like probably the best ruler in Africa for like 90% of his life, and then his mom died, and he turned into, like, he was even more paranoid than Stalin after his mom died. This dude just went insane. You could call him Nero, because that's how crazy he was after his mom died, but in all honesty, he was actually able to set up a system which allowed the Zulu to actually withstand the British for a couple more years than usual, and actually beat them at key battles, which is, props to him. Pretty much Philip II of Macedon, except for the Zulu, which is pretty nice, so I will give him that. Next up, we have Grand Colombia, Simon Bolivar. This man is the sole reason Gran Colombia actually became a thing. He was actually the sole reason that Gran Colombia even existed, and the United States at the time viewed Gran Colombia as an even bigger force than they were. Like, if Gran Colombia got its shit together, Thomas Jefferson, I think, literally said, yo, these guys are absolutely terrifying, and they would whoop our asses if they ever got their shit together. Spoiler alert, they never got their shit together, but it's insane to know that we might have an actual new American superpower if Simon Bolivar was just a little bit luckier, quite honestly. After that, we have Suleiman the Magnificent, except for the fact that he wasn't actually called the Magnificent. I'm not even joking. Somebody in my comments of my Suleiman Ottoman live stream actually told me about it. He was the only reason he's known as Magnificent in the West is because there was like a sort of, there was sort of like a parody type show in Turkey during like the 60s or 70s, I think, if I'm not right. Let me know down below in the comments if I am wrong, but there was actually a show that called him Suleiman the Magnificent multiple times. It's sort of like a joke in Turkish. If somebody's Turkish, let me know down below exactly how he came to be known as the Magnificent in the West, but this is what that one commenter told me, and I'm just going to believe him at trustmebro.com. Next up, we actually have, what's her face? Who's next, actually? We have Tamar of Georgia. She was actually known by History.com as one of the 6 royal women who actually triumphed their husbands and became the rulers, which, pretty hard to do back then, and I think she was actually a saint as well, so that's actually pretty, I think that's pretty high in Catholicism, I think, or Christianity. I'm not Christian myself, so I would have no idea, but yeah, so pretty damn good for Tamar. She really did make a name out of herself, and she actually colonized Turkey before the Ottomans came around, so yeah, she also has that going for her. After that, we actually have Teddy Roosevelt. This one's pretty cool. We all know about how the fact this guy got shot and like actually continued his speech and mocked the assassination attempt, which is absolutely insane. We all know the fact that he said screw you guys and actually split the vote with the Republicans, leading to the Republicans not winning the next election. But here's one that's absolutely insane and that nobody knows about. He refused to appoint any Republican bureaucrats during his time in Congress, right? Like, he wasn't like a normal American dude. He wasn't fighting for the party. He was actually in it to, like, make America great, I guess, like, to make it, like, a great country. So he refused to appoint Republican bureaucrats solely off the fact that they were Republican, right? He wanted to appoint the best people for the job. And the Republican Party got so mad at him that they actually appointed him in the race for vice president instead of president. He was okay with it because he wanted to run in 1904 anyway instead of 1900, so they put him in as the vice president, running for vice president in 1901, and during the 1900 election, the Republicans actually won, and he was named the vice president, except for the fact, you might have been like, oh yeah, we got him, he was going to be president, because he was so popular at the time, but instead he's vice president now, so you can suck it. The guy, William McKinley, actually died during 1901, and Teddy Roosevelt actually became president during the year 1901. So, yeah, pretty much task failed successfully for the Republican Party. This guy's actually insane. Probably the most insane ruler in Civ 6, quite honestly. This guy was an absolute beast. After that, we got Tomyris of Scythia. We all know that she actually killed Cyrus. I'm not going to talk about that. This is literally in the ability killer of Cyrus. Many Greek Amazons. Now, we know about the Greek Amazons, right? Those warrior, female-only tribes that the Greeks wrote about. They were actually based off of Tomyris, which, pretty insane when you got a whole cult dedicated to Tomyris in Greece. So that is something great. After that, we got Trajan of Rome. He was actually set up the first welfare program in ancient Rome called Alimenta. Yeah, Romans were doing welfare a lot better than the Americans are. I'm joking, god damn it, chill. But yeah, he actually set up the first welfare program in Rome, and it's pretty cool, pretty interesting. Not something you'd expect from actual, like, Roman history. You'd expect something about conquest or, like, building cities, but nope. This guy actually started a welfare program. Next up, we got Victoria. Her name wasn't actually Victoria. It was actually Alexandria, like her first name. She was the first ruler to live at Buckingham Palace, like, the home of England's like ruling class. She was actually the first person to make a home at Buckingham Palace. Next up, we got Wilfrid Laurier, the first Francophone Canadian Prime Minister, the first, French Canadian Prime Minister, and actually holds the record with John A. Macdonald for the most elections won, and actually holds the record in Canada for the longest serving Prime Minister at 15 years in a row in Canada. So yeah, this guy had longevity on his side, no doubt about it. Finally, we got Wilhelmina. This one's pretty interesting. She actually had so many miscarriages that the Dutch were actually super worried that if she died without an heir, that Germany would actually have the best claim and they'd actually gobble up the Netherlands, until she finally had a daughter, and the daughter became the ruler of the Netherlands after that. But, if Wilhelmina had like one more miscarriage, Netherlands would probably be a German client state during World War One and maybe even World War Two. And who knows? Who knows? Something might have changed if that actually happened. I doubt it though. But still, that's going to be it. That's all the rulers finished right now. Again, I have part 1 linked in the comment section or the description of this video down below. If you have enjoyed, obviously, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe for the algorithm. And without further ado, I will see you all in the next video. Peace. Huge shout out to my members, Cash Christian, Ben Ownby, John Blair, Jackson Perez, Polaris Gaming, Empyreum, Jeff Utzler, Kim Cosmos, and a really special shout out to my Oh My God subscribers, Robert and Overflow of Amenities.